All right, everybody. Hi, welcome to today's community meeting. Let me unmute this new person. Do we have anybody who is relative new and want to give us a quick intro? Oh, everybody here has been at least one community meeting before. Awesome. That's awesome. All right. I have a question. I know we just put out a new build 4 days ago. I think one of the major change I saw is KMCP is merged into Kagent, right? So I don't believe we have a build out for that yet. Are we planning to kick off a build for that?
We do. We don't have the build for the CLI.
Okay, so we have the build for the controller, and we just don't have the build for the CLI, or do you mean
Correct.
the
Yeah.
KMCP CLI is not merged yet to do a
No,
build?
it's merged. It's just that we haven't done a build yet. I can kick it. I don't think I can kick it off. Let me.
Yeah, what's the process? Do we have to always bother you to kick off the build?
No, you can also bother Peter.
Okay, so you and Peter can do a build.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
No, but it takes two. It's not like bothersome. It takes 2 seconds.
All right, cool. So I would love to have a build for Kagent CLI. Actually, I think
Okay.
Peter, you will demo the new CLI, so it would be good to play with that too. And I also mainly want to have KMCP in the new CLI. A little bit of update on the problem I showed last week. Apparently, there was a problem with multiplexing with MCP server. If you remember during the demo, I couldn't show the agent working perfectly last week. And apparently there was a problem with how I set up the MCP server to be accessed through agent gateway. And whenever the agent gateway is multiplexing more than one MCP server, it adds a prefix of the MCP server, which somehow mess up with Kagent because in my agent, I was referring to the exact tools I was using and was not expecting the prefix tool name. So that was why it didn't work. Unfortunately, it took us quite a while to troubleshooting that. Thanks to Ada and Peter and many of you reaching out, helped me troubleshooting that. I did wrote a bunch of steps for that. So I just sent Dimitro my basic steps if you are interested to run that also. But I just want to report that the demo I showed that last week, the problem is somewhat known. We're still trying to figure out how to solve that problem the best way in Agent Gateway. But for now, at least we know how to work around and fix that. All right, I saw Sam put a message about releasing. Oh, those are the steps. Oh, thanks. So those are the steps if people wants to kick off a release. Awesome. Any other thing we should cover as far as announcement and updates? I saw, Dimitro, you put on sub-agents supports in CRD.
Yeah, I just want to kind of have a very quick discussion. Maybe if anyone looking into this on your side, you can just have a follow-up. I started to look into this workflow agents and how they work together with the root agent, and I want to bring it to the CRD. Currently, the idea is that we can simply add in the same place we have tools as a attribute on the root agent, right? We can just add another one for sub-agents with array of sub-agents, which will allow us very easily to implement more complex agent without doing this bring your own, without coding in Python. We can completely keep it declarative, and basically the same API protocol will be like as before. It's just like additional optional things. I think any objections, like, because in the most simple example, which I'm trying to build, it's just a root agent and sub agents, and we currently don't want to have a deep nested thing, just probably like one level for the start, which will be kind of the ability to inside one agent create one or more sub agents with also referring to the tools. I'm still working on it. As soon as I have a kind of prototype, I will do a demo and share it. But any feedback or any comments on this direction?
Yeah, I would love to understand, Sarah, you might be interested in this too. I would love to understand how the sub-agents would actually work as far as workflow compared with parent agents. So
Thank you, Dimitri, for bringing this, because I'm currently trying to do the same thing. I'm trying to build a GitOps agent that uses other agents from other ecosystems or other key agents in addition to MCP servers and tools. And I have some results. It's not perfect. I can do things, but as soon as it goes deeper than one layer, starts to get very messy. So if you have any feedbacks about this, I'd be happy to take it.
so when you say one layer, so that's like one parent and child layer.
Let me quickly
If it's
explain. Maybe I'll try
Exactly.
just to show. So basically, I started with the some agent labs on ADK, and they had this example of like a parent agent and then number of sub agents, and you can have basically structure of workflow agents like sequential and for example loop agent or kind of parallel agents, and then internally you have some other agents, right? Organized. I think everyone familiar with this idea that is like a standard supported ADK like feature, right? And I think it's also the preferred way when you build a multi-agent system using just ADK, right? The thing is that it's a bit different because in our current implementation, our sub-agents are just the tool calls. Like you have a sub-agent kind of like similar, we do not differentiate, right? We have like a tool which is MCP tool and tool which is kind of calling another agent. But this is not exactly the same as ADK support for the sub-agents, right? So the idea is if we do it, we will have ability to declare it here directly in the CRD, and you can have like a sub-agents as a separate entity with additional name and tools, okay? So you can nested it. I'm still trying to figure out what is the optimal way, but even in my previous example, it seems like there could be like probably one layer as workflow and then another layer of maybe we need more than one, okay? But that's the whole idea. I think if you've seen my screen, yeah.
Yeah, we can see your screen. So is the idea of yours is the parent agent will go through each of the sub agent and evaluate which one is the right one to call sequentially?
So,
It's
that's
really
ADK
just about,
already.
yeah, exactly. Sorry,
What?
go.
Sorry, you guys were both talking.
This is something that already done in ADK automatically. You don't need to do it. Okay.
Okay.
As soon as the greeter is see your request and it's like related to a specific feature which is supported by sub-agent, it will delegate it. And as soon as you delegate it into this flow, right, it could be like a loop where you are iterating until some exit criteria. Like in this example, we are writing like a scenario for the movie. So you have a researcher, which is calling some tools, then it's sending this to a next agent in a flow, which is screenwriter, and then critic. As soon as condition satisfied or you reach like 5 iterations, you quit and then you save the results. Okay, so you have one loop agent and one sequential agent. And it's important to have such internal loops. They are completely like automatic, or you can build a multi-agent system where it will actually go back to the root agent, and then the root agent will clarify something. But I think the important ability to have this self kind of how to say the agents with the feedback loop, which can self-improve or check the status of the condition, like if I'm ready, if I'm not ready. Example could be like if you're writing some pull request, right? If it's like completely validated, until it's not valid, or until you're not passing some linters, you would actually ask again the agent to fix it, and then do a couple of iterations, and so on and so on. So that's the main idea. So because I got this feedback from people who really implement this kind of Python-based agents. The first question they asked, like, can we make more complex agents? Because the agents we have right now in the Kagent, they're pretty simple. It's like just a chat agent, LLM agent, and the tools. But that's not enough for these multi-agent systems.
Now, one question, you both had mentioned how nesting them one level deep was kind of intentional in this first pass. And then maybe, Sarah, I think you even mentioned it gets complex beyond that first level. Could you help me understand kind of the risks associated with just supporting a single level of nesting from kind of a functionality perspective?
So first of all, if you look also in the Python, how it will look like, you have root agent, then you have this sub agents as a Python code, right, with list of agents. And the thing is, if you are implementing here some workflow agent, it could be basically first level for workflow, and then another level for the agents which are included in that workflow, right? So you have here example of this. Maybe just a second. I opened the wrong one. Yeah, this one is better. You see my screen. I'll make it a bit bigger. So here you have like root agent, right? Then you have the sequential agent on the first level, sub agents, right? And then you will have like a writer room or just another agent.
So Sam, we can do nested today. So Brandon, you can, one sec. We can do nested today. Actually, the main problem is discoverability. Our UI, our system doesn't have any way of showing that nested agent conversations and interactions are happening. So it might be, we allow up to 10 levels of nesting. So it with no loops, but it might be happening. You just have no idea, which I think is part of the fundamental issue. There's a number of issues, but I think there are, like Dimitro said, there's a lack of controllability, but also there's a lack of observability. So yeah, I think it's actually two-pronged.
The UI will show if a sub agent is being called.
Not 2 levels or 3 levels deep, right?
At least first level, yes.
The first level, yeah.
Yes,
So.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Brandon,
I think there
go
are other
ahead. You had
problems.
your hands up for.
Hold on, yeah. Let's let Brandon go.
Yeah, no problem. No, this is really good stuff. I guess what would need to be true in order for us to have the sub agents be reusable components?
They are already
in the implementation that you were just showing, Dimitro. Like those are. I mean, is it reusable in terms of its YAML configuration, or like I guess what is the reusable article?
I think the current CRD is not yet supporting it, right? So, Ethan, maybe I'm missing something.
So it's again, we support like a tree, right? We support a tree, a breadth first search, basically. Like we will go down until necessary and then loop back up, right? That is the only graph traversal that we support. And I think and I agree, what Dimitro is asking is, can we have more complex interaction? So for example, let's say you go one level deep and then here you actually want to do a loop. right? You have some things you want to do a loop, and then you come up here, and then maybe you want to go back, right? So the question is just how, what level, and I agree with him, by the way, that the ADK supports kind of what are called sub agents, and we explicitly used a tool call rather than a sub agent, only because of how our system already worked, and then it basically just sort of worked. But we do want to support sub agents. It's just that because of the observability of our system
I think there are
today.
other reasons for that. I think there must be some criteria when to use tool agent and when to use sub agent. I think tool agent, if you're using and you basically can end up with too many calls to the tool agent back and forth, and then your entire context and section will look like a bit broken and unnecessary calls and context switching. You can think about this as the same as you give in the processor. You switch between different threads, right? In terms of agents, if you just delegate it and another agent take a control, it's much more clear, and it's like you're not having this extra context switching back and forth and all these events and stuff like that. I think it's better from observability, it's better from other things to have it as a sub agent. And I'm just saying that perhaps when we will start to test it and we will add this on CRD, I'll create first like just a proposal branch with some initial implementation, and we can then maybe test it a bit with kind of that side branch, and then get more feedback. Okay.
Yeah. No. Again, I'm very excited about it. I absolutely want it, and I'm curious to see what the, like when once we have evals as well. I think it'll be cool to see what the difference is between, like, how these different things play out and what they're good at and all that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sarah.
Yes. Just a question for you, Dimitro. You in your agent definition resource, you are using a set of tools in your sub agents, right? So I'm trying to do the same thing, but I don't see in the CRD, the current CRD, the possibility to define the tools. And I was also thinking that the whole idea of using a sub agent is to not do this, right? Maybe I'm.
What do you mean?
Yeah, like you specifically said that we cannot use more than 20 tools, I think, to define one.
No, the nested calls. I think what it means when we call one agent with another. Initially, even we had some checks. You need to check in this case, for example, you don't have circle references, right? So your agents are not going in the loop, because all our agents are like a remote agents. Basically, when current implementation, you call agent, you do a remote call to another pod, right? In my example, which I shared, the main difference as well, and kind of like an implication of this, if I define this CRD for agent, you will see only root agent in the list of agents, right? But under the hood, these sub-agents will be still created inside Python code and executed with the same permissions, with the same identity and everything, whatever you have in that pod, right? That's another reason why sometimes maybe you want to split it, maybe you want to have a different identity or some other things, then you can go with external tool call, right? But if you go to this external tool, that external one can refer to you, right? And you can have like a circle of indefinite loop or something. So we want to have some protection about it, like, okay, maybe we don't allow it or do this validation.
So when you display the list of tools, you are restricting your sub-agent to use these tools only, like the list you provided in your
we need
definition.
Some restrictions, because if you're not careful, you may build a system which is a bit of, instead of 3, it can be like a net of random things, and then you never had exit from it, right? Then the system will never end up with a solution and it will not exit. So the idea is, like, probably when we do the sub agents this way, there might be some restrictions on the other remote agents tools and things, So it's also not possible to add the sub agent instance twice in 2 places. It's already a restriction from ADK. We need to follow the same rules, like if you need another instance, you create a new instance, stuff like that. Yeah, but again, it's just a very draft currently. I will be showing this maybe next meeting with for live demo.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That's
Now,
awesome. You can see people are excited already. I have a quick question. Can the sub agent be another agent that's already out there so that it can be reused to Brandon's point? So that maybe like Sarah, you wrote 2 agents and I want to use one of your agents as my sub agents and I can configure to be sequential or loop in my agent? Is that what you are thinking, Dimitri, or are you more
That's what
thinking like an
that's
embedded mode?
within the same Python like runtime, which we are instantiating. We technically we cannot reuse the same agent twice, and I think the current limitation will be like, okay, we read the CRD, we create from it one more like 3 of instances, right? And technically we can allow some external calls or external agent calls, but that's still the question if we want that, because it can lead to very uncontrollable, undesired things, if there's like 2 very complex agents with sub-agents and then each other calling, via external tool, I guess it will be difficult to trace the results. Yeah, but still not so clear.
Yeah, Brandon is asking, is that limitation you are describing an ADK limitation? Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I got the gist, Dimitri. So it sounds like it's all about sort of the instantiation of the agent. So we might be able to sort of repurpose the metadata of like the name, the description, the system calls, like all the config. But in terms of the actual runtime, like it has to be instantiated in ADK. Is sort of the sub agents, right, and the sequencing and all that stuff. So in order to do sort of full reusability, like would there need to be enhancements on the ADK side so we don't have to reinstantiate, or is the current proposal just to sort of reinstantiate sub agents?
but I think to be clear, I'm actually not 100% sure I agree with Dimitri that we would instantiate everything in the same pod. I mean, our system is built on A2A, and ADK can do all of this interaction over A2A. So, like, there's no reason that the system couldn't just still function the same way it does today. In terms of instances of the same agent, it would be fine, because once you're in the tree, you could just create an index, right? That's because what it actually wants to make sure is that you use a different name. It doesn't actually. ADK doesn't care. So if we drew out the tree, you could just say this is, agent 1 - level 9 or something.
And specifically, Ton, so is it possible today then to like define, say, a sub agent in a sequence and then point it to another running agent and communicate over essentially A2A? So you wouldn't have to reinstantiate that agent in its own.
Yeah.
In the same pod, you would basically just communicate over ATA. You're saying that's possible with the current implementation?
Yeah, so that works today with tool calls. So we need to verify exactly the behavior with, but it should, because again, these like the A2A agent class is just another agent class in the Python code. So assuming that assuming it's built the way I expect, it should all go. You know what I mean? I haven't tested it, but it should, given the way that like it works. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the idea which the first kind of need for me also like to implement, it's very close to this agent config, which is already there from ADK, right? So when you say, where is it? You can have kind of like I think it supports nested, if I'm not mistaken, but kind of like declarative way where you probably have
sub agents in the bottom. Go down to the last one, the sub agents.
Yeah,
there.
this one, exactly. So something like this, yeah. So this is the agent config YAML example, right? And we want to initially support this, and I think this is translated at currently in the same runtime, right? You have one root agent and some sub agent inside the same runtime. As Ethan, that what you said, we still can have tools which are agent tools if you need to go out. But if you define sub-agents here, I think this means automatically that it's like internal. If we want to configure maybe here a dual agent ref for CRD, is still open question. Okay, we can do that as well, but probably the syntax of how we refer to the
you want to just have like a nested, the ability to just define nested
For the
agents,
first-
completely
for the
new
first-
agent, not a reference, a completely new agent.
Yeah, at the moment,
Got
my current initial like draft version, I just have the same definition. I have sub agents, and here I have name, description, system message, tools, same way as any other, but nested. Okay, but what you're saying, we could also extend it here, maybe to the agent ref as a kind of
So
external ref to the CRD or something, and then it can automatically build it and use it. Maybe, yeah. But I'm not sure if that's what we want and how it will look like. So I think if we start with this initial version first, with the sub-agents nested with the same runtime, then after we can try to see if that's possible to do with a remote. Okay, that's the idea.
I would personally prefer to have the same API. I mean, we can get into more detail about this later. There are issues with nesting, like you can't do recursion and things like that. It would have to be one level, but we can always say, we can have an option like, do you want to use remote agents, or do you want to, like generate entirely locally?
Yeah, and probably yes. I think by default, if you do it locally, we still need to sort all the wrappers what we have for the Kagent, like for the context, for the see how all the traces and everything will work together. As soon as you call something remotely, that probably means start a new session in the remote one and somehow communicate via that session. That's still not so clear, right?
Yeah.
And
it's not clear to me. I think we should do more research.
Yeah. And I think that's why if we focus currently on the just initial implementation with same runtime and so on, then it give us next level then for more complex examples. But I think this more complex potentially have all these questions about circling dependencies, other things which at the moment, it doesn't look like we need it, but these simple sub-agents will allow us to open a lot of use cases for real life, where currently blocking us from adopting Kagent, and move forward, because we have plenty of existing agents with complex prompts and things, and they kind of waiting for this feature, and let's see.
Yeah. Let's take a look at your. I'll comment more on the PR when it happens. We don't need to go into too much detail. Sarah.
That's right. So when you say external agents, you mean agents that are built with Kagent and are running on separate pods, right?
Sorry, I dropped incidentally.
Yeah, basically the agents running outside of that particular agent you are defining.
And I guess Ethan already answered my question about the integration with agents outside of Kagent. Okay. Not supported.
Oh, we added bring your own agent support.
No, but she's talking about remote.
Remote
which
agents,
there's a PR up for it, but we haven't gotten around to finishing it up yet.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay.
I'm sorry, if there are no other questions, I will drop because I have something need really to drop earlier.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Dimitri.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dimitri.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Do we have any other topics for today? I think that was a good discussion. Excited to see some movements on multi-agents as well. Go ahead, Ronit. If I pronounce your name correctly, if not, correct me.
Yeah, it's correct, ma'am. Actually, I started contributing to Kagent repo since past 2 weeks, and I created one PR and it got merged. And recently, I proposed one plan for creating a visual agent builder, something like N10, where user can drag and drop, connect different LLMs and tool use like N10 in our Kagent, so that instead of only having a form-based agent building, the user can use some visual agent builder to drag and drop the agents, and accordingly he can build some kind of complex agents. So actually, I proposed this plan on the Discord, and Ethan's was said it sounds good. So he said to discuss this in the community meet. So yeah, I just introducing it here, and I have started working on it little bit. But I just want to know if he like Sally complete this feature, or should I add something here?
Thank you for raising that, Sam. So the link you sent is what Ronit was proposing.
Yeah, and I'm just starting to read through that now. I hadn't come across this before.
Sorry, you're the guy who created the Notion doc?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, I unfortunately have not had time to look at it. But yeah, I think okay. So let me. Yeah, yeah. No, I mean,
at a high level, I agree. It would be awesome. I just think it's a really it's a huge feature. It's not a. I don't think it's a small feat to implement it though.
Yeah,
But we could
that's
definitely
cool.
do it. This would be awesome, right?
yeah. I want to figure out how we can break this up into actual manageable chunks. Because there are kind of two pieces to your design, right? Your design talks about the like the universal chat, and then it talks about graphical building. And like actually I guess they're two different. There's the Notion one,
I
which
think
is that
there's
there's
two different ones. One was for that freeform chat or whatever we're calling it, right?
Yeah.
I think that's completely separate from this visual agent builder,
And-
right?
Yeah.
Actually, that GitHub one is the latest one. Actually,
Which one?
GitHub one, like
Oh,
issues in the GitHub one, the latest one.
Yeah, but feature-wise, they're different, right? The
Yeah.
chat experience is different from this visual agent builder, right?
I think if you want to go for this visual agent builder, I'm cool with it. I think you should definitely give it a go. It's going to be almost entirely front end. The back end should remain basically the same. All the calls should already be there.
Yeah.
So I think if you're interested in building this experience, I say go for it. I would definitely just make sure that as you're going, you try and do it in small,
Small chunks. Yeah.
as small a chunks as possible while updating, posting screenshots and videos of the work along the way so that we get a really good idea of exactly, what it all looks like, and so that we can provide feedback quickly. So you don't get too far on something, because the important thing here is also going to be the UX. Peter is our
Yeah.
UX guy, so definitely work closely with him. But yeah, I agree with you. I think this would be a really, really cool thing for Kagent to have. But I also just, if not done right, we can end up with a pile of tech debt. So
I would suggest, if you're interested in implementing this, I would suggest starting with just a read-only view of an existing agent, maybe.
I think that's a great idea.
Right? Start with that, and then once we figure out how that looks like, then we can start adding editability to it. Because we also have to figure out what is the how will this visual thing work, right? We don't have we basically have an agent that can connect to tools, and it can connect to a model, and it can connect to other agents. I'm just trying to figure out how we'll how will we visualize this? That's my
Yeah.
I guess, right? It's like if we had some sort of a, like what Dimitro was talking about, the loops and sequential things, and that's not easier, right? But then it's easy to translate into the UX terms, right? Because it's a workflow. It has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or whatever in a sequence, right? But this one is more of it's like a snapshot of some configuration, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I really like the
Uh,
read-only idea, by the way. I think it will be a good starting point and minimum disruption for the project too. Go ahead and run it.
Okay. So basically, according to the given like issued PR, I have this plan. Like right now, I'm trying to build some kind of interface from where a user can build the agent. Like they can drag and drop the icons. I'm using XY Flow for node-based icons. XY Flow is a React library where we can build a node-based UI. So I'm using that to create different kind of icons related to LLM or some tool use. And I'm trying to, first of all, like right now, I'm trying to connect all these and trying to convert into our usual form, which is form-based form, like in the some kind of stack of that, and can easily create an agent accordingly and can chat with it. And later in later stages, we can have some kind of complex architecture in that agent workflow visually, like not just form based, and we can add some kind of memory element there or something, some other features which N8N has, and accordingly we user, so that user can later can create some kind of complex workflows directly from the UI. So right now this is my
Yeah, I mean, it makes, it's just I think we all agree this would be awesome, but let's start try starting small, right? And then post as you go, because we don't want you to like spend time on something that like doesn't go into the right direction or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think what we're trying to say is definitely it makes sense, but let's start with a read-only version, right? So a user can say, visualize my agent,
Yeah.
and it will show you the graph. You can't touch it, you can't edit it, you can visualize it.
Yeah.
Right. So let's start there, because that is useful in and of itself. Right.
Yes.
That's a good feature. So let's start there, and then we can go into editing.
Yeah, and because you'll have to solve the same problem whether it's editing or read only, right? Making this editable it's not the hard part. The hard part here is figuring out how do we visualize this, right? So if you can solve that and work on that, that would be awesome. Yeah. So yeah, feel free to start working on it, right?
Peter and Eitan, what I'm hearing you talk about is in the current limitations of this issue, it lists 5 limitations, and as I read it, the first 2 are more about construction of agents, and the last 3 are more about visualization of existing agents. You're kind of recommending focus on 3, 4, and 5, right? That there's no visual representation, and that without that, it's hard to understand the relationships, and it's hard to, again, see the visualization.
Yes.
Those relationships.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I completely agree. I think this issue is really well written for those 2 problems, and the ask here is kind of decompose it into 2 sub problems and focus on the latter there.
Yeah, because once we have the visual representation, you'll solve the problem with the drag and drop designer as well at that point, right? Because you know what your nodes are, you know how you're going to visualize them when you connect to them. It's just a matter of showing the properties or enabling users to change values, I guess.
Yeah, makes sense. So I guess we're right at time. Ronit, thank you so much for bringing this issue up. And we are so interested in this and look forward to see what you come up with. So do circle back when you have any progress, like if you have any markup screenshots or any prototype to demo to the community, we would love to see that as well. So thank you. Great discussion today. Thank you all. Hopefully, some of you will feel better. I saw Aidan and Peter was rubbing the notes throughout the call. So stay healthy and see you all next week. Thanks. Bye.
Have a good one.
But
Bye bye.